Hi guys, it's Dale and I'm back again. I'm bringing you, I suppose, an old deck that I just recently picked up. Been playing Aqua Force again, this time with all the new G support, as you can see off the lovely little Andre sat there. This deck pretty much was making big waves up until set 3. Big waves. Enough with the puns. I shouldn't make puns during this, because they'll be awful, and then you won't like me anymore. But yeah, deck was making like waves during trios and most of the tournaments before then. Pretty much every single trios team that won or came second and third had an Aqua Force player on in their team. And after playing the deck, I can kind of see why, to be honest. Like, the new support actually puts a lot of power into the deck. Not like they didn't really have that before, but it brought a lot of new life into Aqua Force. Anyway, let's crack on. Been using Andre as the starter. G1 skill, Counterblast 1, move into Soul, choose a rear guard, and after it attacks a Vanguard, you can stay on the unit for plus 2k. So she essentially Magnum Assaults any unit that you have, and again allows you to rack up the attacks, because every Vanguard unit Aqua Force have always generally rely on the 4th attack. And this makes it even easier. 4 Supersonic Sailor. It's quite an old card, but the fact that it's a crit with the ability to move into Soul and unflip damage is always good. Unflipping damage is always good. So I play that 4. 4 Despina. I'm playing 4. Well, I'm playing this over any other crit because of the fact I am playing Glory Maelstrom. And Despina, when she boosts, if the Vanguard has Maelstrom in the card name, if it's the 4th Battle of the Eternal or more, again, she promotes the whole Vanguard 4th attack thing. Your opponent can't call grade 0s from the hand to Guardian Circle. And then afterwards, she returns herself to the deck. Shuffles the deck. I'll explain the whole... Well, it will make more sense why people have been playing this when I get on to the grade 3 lineup. But let's continue on with the triggers for now. 4 Malika. She's the Margle clone of the deck. Everyone on the wiki was actually incredibly happy when this card was released, because I went through some of the old comments on it. But yeah, I'm playing 4 rather than extra crits because Aqua Force lack their own built-in advantage engine. As I showed you with Shadow Paladins, things like Aura Geyser and Claret Sword, who call from deck and add to hand, generally don't need the draw triggers to rely on, because their Vanguard unit's pretty much getting them advantage anyway. Same with something like the new Duo Legion, its own advantage engine, so you probably wouldn't need to play draws in that either. There's probably some other decks that I could name that have their own advantage engine. Oracles is another one, but let's not divert too much from the Aqua Force. But yeah, the deck lacks its own built-in advantage engine, so I opted to play 4 draw trigger to be able to get and maintain some kind of hand advantage. Plus, the 5k shield is always incredibly helpful at times. You know, the times when 10k is far too much, but 5k actually does the job. And of course, it means you leave your 10ks in hand at the same time. And 4 Ice Fly Angel, he'll trigger, self-explanatory. Always heals. Apparently, I like to just draw them. To the grade 1s. 4 Kelpie Rider Nikki. This is the Thavas, Searcher, and Stride Enabler. Or Stride Assist, whatever you like to call them. Search that Thavas. It's the main grade 3 of the deck. Helps with the striding. This isn't a deck that relies on aggressively striding. So whether or not I would cut these down to maybe 3 or even maybe 2 remains to be seen. I'm playing 3 Assassinate Sailor. Now this is the unit that again promotes 4th battle skills. If the attack hits a vanguard that this boosted on the 4th battle or more, I choose an opponent's rearguard and retire it. Now retiring is always a nice thing to have. And of course, the deck really lacks the skills to be able to retire things. So I thought I'd play this over Oritha, which is the Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, to restand a unit for minus 5k. Pretty much tidal assaults things. Now, I didn't particularly like the whole idea of losing 5k or more of my units again. So I opted to play this because it's got slightly more utility, it's a bigger pressure unit, and retiring's always a good thing. Plus, she does look very pretty. I'll end that there. To Stacia, I think that's how you say her name. She's a 6k grade 1, well vanilla, whose GB1 skill allows her to attack from the back row. This is quite nice because it means you can put units behind the vanguard that don't boost, because your strides are pretty big units anyway. And when I get onto Thavas, I'll explain another reason why he doesn't necessarily need it to be boosted. But when she attacks in the back row, she gains plus 3k. So she's a 9k that isn't restricted to the vanguard. So this 9k can go into any rearguard, which is something Aqua Force have generally always lacked, which is the fact that most of their units always state they want to attack the vanguard. But this time we actually have a decent rearguard attacker. And then last but not least, to make up the grade 1s, we've got full Plato, perfect guard, the unflipping perfect guard. Not much to be said about Plato, to be honest. He looks really nice, that's kind of it. On to the grade 2s. We're playing 3 High Tide Sniper. I'm generally 50-50 over High Tide, because I'm Soul Blasting, and this deck doesn't have a way of naturally building up Soul, outside of Malika and Supersonic Sailor. So generally I'm only going to have what I've ridden to be able to Soul Blast. So I had to consider playing the GB112K. However, that has to attack a Vanguard. High Tide Sniper does not. It's only when it attacks, and it has to be the 3rd or more. It's generally the only grade 2, I think, that actually has a 3rd attack or more restriction. But High Tide Sniper can make itself 19k, which if I'm attacking a rearguard means they have to drop 15k or they lose their unit. 2 Couple Dagger Sailor. This is pretty much a clone of one of the Storm Riders. It's not quite Diamantes, it might be Basil, come to think of it. But it does Diamantes' job more. Counterblast 1, if it's the first attack, turn, it gains 2k, so it's 11k. And at the end of the battle, it exchanges positions with a unit in the same golem. Again, similar to Storm Rider Diamantes and Storm Rider Basil, except it's a lot more powerful. The Blue Storm units have their own clone of this, which is Rascal Sweeper, who just requires a Maelstrom on the Vanguard and is costless through this. 4 Magnum Assault. I find Magnum Assault to be the better of the restanding units, purely because when he restands he gives himself power, unlike Tidal Assault, who minuses power. And both are restricted to one skill per turn anyway. So I found opting to max out on the Magnum Assaults was a lot better. then going for Tidal Assault or maxing out on High Tide Snipers, etc. And then 3 Tidal Assault. Not a massive fan of the card anymore. The minus 5k is actually quite detrimental in a format, well, a format where the main mechanic allows incredible hand advantage through the ability of Stride, and obviously hitting draws in a triple check is always good because 4 cards is better than 3. In general, 3 cards are better than 2. But I started to find the minus 5k quite detrimental to being able to finish games off on the Lambros turn. Of course, when I do Stride Lambros and the skills do go off, it becomes 15k again. So it's not too bad. It's 15k by itself. Magnum Assault can be 19 and 21 respectively on 2 attacks. The 19 would actually be bigger because it would be boosted in the first place. Anyway, on to the grade 3s. 4th Abbas. As I mentioned, is the main grade 3 of the deck. Hence playing 4 Stride enabled to search it. It's GB2 skill. It pretty much Despinas itself. Or Silent Tom, should I say. It's more of a Silent Tom. And it also gains a crit, providing it's all the 4th battle or more. Standard for Aqua Force. So 4th battle or more, no grade 0 guard from hand, and it gains a crit. And when it strides, well, when you stride that turn, it gives the Vanguard the skill of, when it attacks, if it's the 4th attack that turn or more, you can select 3 of your opponent's units and they have to pick one to retire. Now, the reason why I play Assassinate Sailor is to exaggerate on this even further. Because where Thavas isn't a guaranteed, I'm going to kill a problem unit, Assassinate Sailor generally might be. Or at least Assassinate Sailor has the better chance of hitting the unit that I need to get rid of. Again, retires are good. Retires are good. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the Glory Maelstrom. Limit break 5. When it attacks Vanguard, 4th attack or more. It gains 5k. And your opponent can't call the perfect guards from guard to Guardian Circle from his or her hand. And actually looking at it, Glory Maelstrom does not have an attack restriction on it. However, Despina forces an attack restriction of 4 or more. So it's not quite that great, I suppose, but you generally want to make the Vanguard the 4th attack anyway. Because having about 3 more attacks going beforehand, if you haven't put them to 5 damage by this point, you've either already hit out one of the 6 damage heals, or you're going to win off it anyway. If not, then they're not guarding, and that 6 damage is probably going to hit anyway. On to the Strides G-Zone, should I say. Playing 1 Blizzard. I opted to play Blizzard because Aqua Force have no first turn, well, not first turn Stride, but first Stride turn G unit that unflips something. Say for Shadow Paladins, where they have Aura Geyser, this is generally going to be their first Stride, and can unflip a copy of itself, meaning GB2 is now already active. Aqua Force don't have one of those. Well, they have Lambros. Lambros can unflip at any point, but you never really want Lambros to be a first Stride. So I opted to play Blizzard, because again it offers me the triple check, and automatically unflips a unit. So Thavas' GB2 skill is already live after the first Stride. It's generally the reason why I'm using it. I'm playing on Socrates. If it's the 3rd battle of the turn or more, counterblast 1 and it gains 5k. So it makes itself 20k Stride. 2 Tidal Bore Dragon. Alongside the triple check, if the attack hits and it's the 3rd battle or more, I get to draw a card, and then choose a card from my hand and call it to rearguard circle. Now if I have an open column, or I need something like Magnum Assault to be boosted and I didn't have a booster, if the attack hits, I can call a unit, gain another attack, or boost something. There's a good few things that Tidal Bore can do. It also doesn't have to call to an open rearguard. So if I had a column of couple dagger and something else that wasn't High Tide Sniper, and the attack hit, I could call the High Tide Sniper over whatever's in the front row, and then I have my 19k. So it makes for a nice little combo piece. And then the final stride in the deck, who is also probably the most important, is Lambros. Now, Lambros, obviously standard stride, it's the unflipper of the G units. If it's the 4th battle or more, I flip a copy of itself to choose 2 of my rearguards and stand them. And of course, if the number of units face up in the G zone is 2 or more, the units that it stood gain 10k. This is pretty much why I play Blizzard, because I don't want to stride into Lambros on the first turn. I'd rather just use the Blizzard, unflip a card, and then stride into Lambros whenever it's needed, which pretty much generally be for game. And if that doesn't work, I still have another Lambros to go through. But yeah, Lambros is generally the finisher of the deck. Being able to restand 2 units, which means you generally gain another 2 additional attacks, or depending on how you've ordered the attacks prior to it, you can probably get another 3 if you used a Magnum Assault. Probably even 4 depending on what's being given Andre's skill. Pretty sure she doesn't have to restand the unit on the first attack, you could just restand it on whatever attack. But yeah, been dabbling in Aqua Force. Again, with Aqua Force, they have the hard matchup of things like Link Joker, Kagero. Oritha was generally one of the only resist units the deck got, but I don't like Oritha, so I opted to not play her. And being a resist in the back row isn't helpful, because it means things like Nebula Contra Dragon and Root Flare can still hit the unit in front, which in turn will lock her, or retire her. At least I believe that's how it works. But yeah, this has been my Aqua Force. I hope you enjoy it, because it is slightly different from some of the builds I have seen, especially recently. A lot of people have been opting to go back to full Maelstrom builds, or those who are still playing Davas are playing quite different lineups. I had considered playing Tetra Drive Dragon in the deck, because it's a limit break, which of course in turns punishes people who try not to allow you to be able to stride. Plus it's a restander. Some restanders are always good. Anyway, until next time, I'm out.